Reading for Media Control by Noam Chomsky. In fact, what does it mean if somebody asks you, do you support the people in Iowa? Can you say yes, I support them, or no, I don't support them? It's not even a question. It doesn't mean anything. That's the point. The point of public relations slogans like support our troops is that they don't mean anything. They mean as much as whether we support the people in Iowa. Of course, there was an issue. The issue was, do you support our policy? But you don't want people to think about that issue. That's the whole point of good propaganda. You want to create a slogan that nobody is going to be against and everybody is going to be for. Nobody knows what it means because it doesn't mean anything. Its crucial value is that it diverts your attention from a question that does mean something. Do you support our policy? That's the one you are not allowed to talk about. So you have people arguing about support for the troops. Troops, of course, I don't not support them. Then you have won. That's like Americanism and Harmony. We are all together empty slogans. Let's join it. Let's make sure we don't have these bad people around to disrupt our harmony with their talk about class struggle, rights, and that sort of business. That's all very effective. It runs right up to today. And of course, it is carefully thought out. And of course, it is carefully thought out. The people in the public relations industry aren't there for the fun of it. They are doing work. You are trying to instill the right values. They are trying to instill the right values. In fact, they have a conception of what democracy ought to be. It ought to be a system in which the specialized class is trained to work in the service of the masters, the people who own the society. It ought to be a system in which the specialized class is trained to work in the service of the masters, the people who own the society. The rest of the population ought to be deprived of any form of organization because organization just causes trouble. They ought to be sitting alone in front of the TV and having drilled into the heads the messages which says the only value in life is to have more commodities or live like that rich middle class family you are watching and to have nice values like harmony and Americanism, blah blah. That's all there is in life. You may think in your own head that there's got to be something more in life than this, but since you are watching the tube alone you assume I must be crazy because that's all that's going on over there, and since there is no organization permitted, that's absolutely crucial. You never have a way of finding out whether you are crazy, and you just assume it because it's the natural thing to assume. So that's the ideal. Great efforts are made in trying to achieve that ideal. Obviously, there is a certain conception behind it. The conception of democracy is the one that I mentioned. The bewildered herd is a problem. We have got to prevent their roar and trampling. The bewildered herd is a problem. We have to prevent their roar and trampling. We have got to distract them. They should be watching the Super Bowl or sitcoms or violent movies. Every once in a while you call on them to chant meaningless slogans like support our troops. You have got to keep them pretty scared because unless they are properly scared and frightened of all kinds of devils, they are going to destroy them from outside or inside or somewhere. They may start to think, which is very dangerous because they are not competent to think. Therefore, it's important to distract them and marginalize them. Therefore, it is important to distract them and marginalize them. That's one conception of democracy. That's the one conception of democracy. In fact, going back to the business committee, the last legal victory for labor really was 1935, the Wagner Act. After the war came, the unions declined as did a very rich working class culture that was associated with the unions. That was destroyed. We moved to a business run society at a remarkable level. we moved to a business run society at a remarkable level. This is the only state capitalist industrial society which doesn't have even the normal social contract that you find in comparable societies outside comparable society. This is the only state capitalist industrial society which doesn't have even the normal social contract that you find in comparable societies outside of South Africa. I guess this is the only industrial society that doesn't have national health care. There's no general commitment to even minimal standards of survival for the parts of the population who can't follow those rules and gain things for themselves individually. Unions are virtually unions are virtually non-existent. Other forms of popular structure are virtually non-existent. There are no political parties or organizations. It's a long way towards the ideal, at least structurally. The media are a corporate monopoly. The media are a corporate monopoly. The media are a corporate monopoly. They have the same point of view. The two parties are two factions of the business party. Most of the population doesn't even bother voting because it looks meaningless. They are marginalized and properly distracted. At least that's the goal. The leading figure in the public relations industry, Edward Bernays, actually came out of the Krill Commission. He was part of it, learned his lessons there, and went on to develop what he called the engineering of consent, which he described as the essence of democracy. So we are here talking about Edward Bernays. Bernays actually came out of the Krill Commission. He was part of it, learned his lessons there, and went on to develop what he called the engineering of consent, which he described as the essence of democracy. The people who are able to engineer consent are the ones who have the resource and the power to do it, and the business community. That's the business community, and that's who you work for. Engineering opinion. It is so we are now going to a new chapter, that is engineering opinion, and in next slide we will talk about that.